Many years ago, in a village known as Eziuko, there lived a young boy named Ifeanyi. Ifeanyi was the only son of his mother. He had two younger sisters named Chioma and Chinwe. They were both twins. Ifeanyi had lost his father when he was barely 8 years old. His mother, Chinazo, had just given birth to his two younger sisters, Chioma and Chinwe, when his father had died. It was a terrible time for their family. Chinazo, Ifeanyi's mother, was always sad and wept non-stop. As the weeks passed, the reality of his father's death dawned on Ifeanyi. He had lost his childhood, and he knew that he had to become a man very quickly. He had to support his mother and younger sisters and fill in the large shoes that his father had left. So Ifeanyi began to hire himself out as a laborer. He would go from farm to farm, working and toiling all day under the hot sun. And at the end of the day, the owner of the farm where he worked would pay him with foodstuffs, either yam or gari or plantain, as the case may be. And Ifeanyi would take it back to his mother happily, despite how little the foodstuffs were. Each time Ifeanyi came back home from work, his mother would come out dancing and rejoicing, and hailing him as though he had just come back home with spoils of war. "My first son, the strength of my loins, my husband, thank you very much," Chinazo would say happily, collecting all Ifeanyi had brought back home. And this made Ifeanyi very happy. And he would always thank his mother and say, "Don't worry, Mama. I will make you proud. I will take very good care of you when I grow up. Just manage this one for the meantime." Chinazo was a trader. She would buy fish from the fishermen at the river bank and sell at the markets. And with the little she earned from trading and with the foodstuffs Ifeanyi brought home from work every day, she was able to provide for her family. Ifeanyi continued to work in people's farms every day, and because he was very hardworking and polite, many of the people that he worked for loved him. After a while, Ifeanyi stopped going from farm to farm, but began to work solely for Maazi Chekube. Maazi Chekube loved Ifeanyi and treated him fairly. He had even begun to pay Ifeanyi some money in addition to the foodstuffs he gave him to go home with every day. It was at Maazi Chekube's farm that Ifeanyi had met Arinze, and they both became best of friends. They went to the stream together to bathe together after working all day at the farm. They had both shared big dreams of going to the city one day. Everyone approved of their friendship. Arinze was the brother that Ifeanyi never had. They shared a very strong bond, and together they grew into young men while working at Maazi Chekube's farm. One day, Maazi Chekube had called Ifeanyi and Arinze. He told them that he had something important to discuss with them. "Ifeanyi and Arinze, you both have worked for me for over 6 years, and you have both been very good to me, that I no longer consider any of you as just a mere employee or a hired laborer, but I see you both as my sons. So you know my brother, Nduka, who stays in the city and sells motor parts. He has requested that I send him a young man who I trust that will serve him for 7 years, after which he would settle the person and start up a business for the person. Now, aside the fact that I consider you both as my sons, you both share a bond that I admire so much. So it is difficult to choose between the both of you who I should send. So that is why I have called you, Ifeanyi and Arinze, to come, go and discuss among yourselves and decide who I should send," Maazi Chekube said. Ifeanyi and Arinze were so happy. "Thank you so much, Maazi," they both chorused. "We will let you know what we both decide first thing tomorrow morning." they said happily as they left his presence. What are we going to do? Who should go? Ifeanyi asked, looking worried. Ifeanyi, I think you should be the one to go to the city. You are the only hope of your family. My father is still alive, but you're the only hope of your mother, Arinze said. No, Ifeanyi replied. I think you should go instead. You are older than me by 2 years, and you are even smarter too. You'll be able to learn faster than me, Ifeanyi replied. So Arinze and Ifeanyi kept on arguing among themselves, saying the other person should go instead. After what seemed to be like eternity, Arinze and Ifeanyi now came to the conclusion that Ifeanyi should go to the city to learn the motor spare parts business. But at the end of his service, he would come back to the village and establish the business, and both him and Arinze would become partners. So the next day, they went to inform Maazi Chekube of their decision that Ifeanyi should be the one going to the city. Ifeanyi told his mother Chinazo later that evening, and she was so happy. Ifeanyi had been a very good and responsible son. She was happy that at least in a few years after learning a trade, he would be established. Chinazo could not sleep at night. She woke him up virtually every night to plead with him not to misuse this once-in-a-life opportunity. Ifeanyi, my son, please, when you get to the city, please do not join bad boys. Focus on the reason why you were sent to the city. Serve your master very well. Biko, please, my son. Chinazo would plead with Ifeanyi. And he would always reassure her, saying, Mama, don't worry, I will not disappoint you. Finally, the D-Day came, and Ifeanyi was to leave for the city. His mother, Chinazo, and sisters were crying and weeping. His best friend, Arinze, and Maazi Chekube had also come to tell him goodbye, assuring him that they would take care of his mother and sisters. Ifeanyi was sad, yet happy to leave. He had never left his village before and couldn't wait to see what life had in store for him outside his village, Eziuko. He waved his mother and siblings goodbye as he left sadly. Ifeanyi settled quickly in the city and began to serve his master Nduka. He went to the shop every day and sold spare parts. His master Nduka loved him very much because he was diligent and worked really hard. Ifeanyi had even begun to learn the business very quickly and made huge sales for his master. Meanwhile, back at home, Chinazo's fish business was doing very well, and many a times, Arinze, Ifeanyi's best friend, would often give Ifeanyi's mother Chinazo foodstuffs and money to supplement her income. 7 years ran by so quickly, and Ifeanyi had completed his apprenticeship with his master, Nduka. Nduka was very pleased and happy. He prayed for Ifeanyi and settled him with enough money to go back to the village and open his own shop, since he did not want to stay back in the city. He even threw a little party to celebrate Ifeanyi. Ifeanyi was so grateful. He thanked his master Nduka for training him and keeping to his word to set him up. Ifeanyi came back home to the village and was warmly received by his mother, sisters Chinwe and Chioma, and his best friend Arinze and Maazi Chekube. It was a day of celebration in Ifeanyi's home. They ate, drank, and made merry. Ifeanyi was specially grateful to his best friend Arinze for supporting his mother and sisters all through his absence. Mama, I am back to take care of you and make you proud, Ifeanyi said to his mother happily. A few days after Ifeanyi had come back to the village, he had already set up his shop at the market and had partnered with Arinze, and they both sold motor spare parts at the market. It was one of the days when he had gone to the market to do his business with Arinze that he had met Ifeoma. Ifeoma was extremely beautiful, and Ifeanyi couldn't stop staring. Arinze immediately looked at him and said, "Abort mission, this girl is not a good person. She would only stay with you as long as you have money. This girl is bad news." But Ifeanyi couldn't help himself. He fell in love immediately he set his eyes on Ifeoma, and he vowed in his heart that he was going to marry her. So Ifeanyi decided to approach her and he said, "Nne, how are you doing? My name is Ifeanyi. You're so beautiful. So I had to come say hello. Please, what is your name?" Ifeanyi asked, smiling. "My name is Ifeoma, and there is no need to introduce yourself. I know you already. Your master just settled you, and you're back here in the village to open your shop and start your business. Everyone calls you the youngest millionaire," Ifeoma said, blushing. Ifeanyi was so happy, and they both continued to gist and laugh. Ifeanyi began to go to her house every day after he closed from the market. They would spend quality time together, laughing and taking a stroll. One day, Ifeanyi invited Ifeoma over to his house so she could meet his mother, so he could properly introduce her as the woman he wanted to marry. Immediately Ifeoma entered his house and saw his mother. She quickly went to hug her. "Ah, good evening, Mama. You look so beautiful, Ma. How are you doing today?" Ifeoma asked, smiling. Chinazo, Ifeanyi's mother, hugged her and welcomed her warmly. "I am fine, my daughter. Welcome," she said. Ifeanyi's younger sisters, who had grown into beautiful young ladies, also came to welcome her. "Good evening, Auntie," they both chorused. Ifeoma hugged and replied them, saying, "Good evening, my sisters." Ifeanyi stood by the side, smiling and grinning from ear to ear. He was very glad that Ifeoma blended well with his mother and sisters and had treated them as though they were her own family. That day, Ifeoma had entered the kitchen to cook and wash all the plates. Even when Chinazo, Ifeanyi's mother, tried to stop her, she also took broom and swept the whole compound, even when it was not dirty. She kept on looking for what to do when there was indeed nothing to do. She was trying so hard to impress Ifeanyi and his mother. And it worked because Ifeanyi was so impressed. He was more convinced now than ever that Ifeoma was a wife material. However, Chinazo, Ifeanyi's mother, wasn't convinced or impressed. Later that night, Ifeanyi took Ifeoma home, and when he came back, his mother was patiently waiting for him in the parlor. "What do you think, Mama?" Ifeanyi asked, looking excited. My son, I don't like her. There is something dishonest about her. She's not completely truthful," Chinazo said. Mama, what do you mean by that? That girl is so nice and humble. See how she served you hands and foot," Ifeanyi said, frowning. "My son, what an elder sees sitting down, a child cannot see, even though he climbs the iroko tree. I have said my piece. She's not a good woman, but it is your choice to make," Chinazo replied. "Mama, I'm getting married to Ifeoma. I really like her and she's a good person," Ifeanyi said angrily as he stormed off. A few weeks later, Ifeanyi got married to Ifeoma and they were so happy. However, Chinazo and her two daughters, Chinwe and Chioma, were not happy. Even Arinze, his best friend, was not happy as well. They knew that he had made a big mistake, but Ifeanyi seemed to care less. A few weeks after they got married, Ifeoma began to show her true colors. In the morning before her husband went to work, she would wake up to prepare food for him. And as soon as he left for work, because Ifeanyi left really early, she would transfer all the remaining food in the pot inside a flask and keep it in her room, leaving nothing for her mother-in-law Chinazo or her sister-in-law Chinwe and Chioma to eat. She would also only clean the bedroom she shared with her husband. She did not bother to sweep any other part of the house or even wash the pot and the plates she used in serving her own husband. She would not even bother helping her mother-in-law with anything in the house. Instead, she would either be in bed all day sleeping or would always stand in front of a mirror, admiring her beauty. Although Ifeoma was a hairdresser before she got married to Ifeanyi, but as soon as she got married to Ifeanyi, she stopped going to her shop to make hair. She said she was no longer going to work because her husband Ifeanyi was wealthy. And when Ifeanyi had tried to encourage her to continue going to work, she stopped sleeping with him for days until he begged her and stopped disturbing her about going back to work. So every day, as Ifeanyi left for work and his mother went to the market with his two sisters to sell fish, Ifeoma would remain at home, sleeping and whiling away her time. And in the evening, she would cook food that only her and her husband would eat. She would not bother keeping any food for her mother and sisters-in-law. Chinazo, her mother-in-law, had observed Ifeoma for a while. She was not surprised at her behavior because she knew that Ifeoma was a pretender. So one day she called Ifeoma to speak to her, like mother to daughter. My daughter Ifeoma, I have been noticing how you have been behaving this past few weeks. You do not help in the house, you cook food and hide food, and serve only yourself and your husband. You do not go to work any longer. All these attitudes are not good for you. Please change, my daughter, Chinazo said gently. Mama, this is my husband's house. I do not disrespect you. After all, you did not want your son to marry me. You think he would not tell me, Abi? Please allow me to live anyhow I want in my husband's house. I am not your maid to be cooking food for you and your daughters. And as for my shop, my husband is not complaining. I don't want to stress myself. I need to stay at home and look good so that when my husband, my Odogu, comes back, I can take good care of him physically and otherwise. So Mama, please, I beg you in the name of God, please mind your business. Ifeoma said angrily and walked away. Chinazo was shocked. She knew Ifeoma was a pretender, but she didn't know she was rude also. From that day, Ifeoma became even more aggressive towards her. She would see her in the morning and pass without greeting her. One day, Chinazo could not take it anymore, so she called her son Ifeanyi into her room to report all that his wife does in his absence. Ifeanyi, my son, I told you that this girl is a pretender, but you would not listen. This girl, Ifeoma, disrespects me whenever you're not around. She cooks and hides food. If not for the money I earn from selling fish, I and your sisters will starve to death. She does not sweep or do anything in this house, yet she stays at home all day, Chinazo said, worried. Mama, I know I'm not always around, but my wife loves you very much, and she loves my sisters too. She's not capable of doing all these things that you have said. I know you never like her, but it is not enough to say lies about her. Please, Mama, please see and treat her like your own daughter, just like Chinwe or Chioma. Because Mama, Ifeanyi said, pleading. Chinazo was very shocked at her son's response. Ah, I am in trouble. This Ifoma has bewitched my son. How would my son think that I'm lying to him against his wife? Chinazo said, looking worried. In the days that followed, Ifoma would always demand for money from her husband Ifeanyi, and she would spend the money on new bags, clothes, and shoes every day. And each time she asked for money and Ifeanyi failed to give her, she would not allow him touch her at night. Every single night, before Ifeanyi could sleep with her, he had to give her a lot of money. If not, she would starve him of sex. Ifeanyi had begun to get frustrated. One day, he was at the shop and lost in thoughts when his friend Arinze observed his moodiness and asked him, "What is wrong with you, Ifeanyi?" Arinze, I don't know if I made a mistake in marriage. Can you imagine that my wife does not allow me touch her unless I give her money? I have to literally pay her for sex every night. If I don't, she will not sleep with me. I have tried talking her into going back to work, but she would get angry each time I bring up that subject. Now, my mom is also saying that she pretends to be nice and respectful to her whenever I am around. And when I'm not around, she treats them badly. I'm so confused. I really love Ifoma, but I don't know if she even loves me at all. Ifeanyi said, looking sad. I told you that she was after your money, didn't I? But you never listened. I see you go home with huge stacks of cash every day. And I wondered what you always did with such amount of money. I didn't know you were paying your wife to have sex like a common prostitute. If you continue collecting money like that from this business will go down, no? And we will go back to farming all day, under the hot sun, and even in the rain. But I think I have an idea that might help. Let us test your wife to see if she really loves you or not. Let us get another shop and move all our goods there. And pretend that we got robbed and all the goods were stolen. After that, you would stay at home for a few weeks and let us see if her attitude changed towards you, Arinze said. Ifeanyi agreed immediately. He thought it was a good test. So after a few days, Arinze and Ifeanyi were able to secretly move all their goods away from their shop and scatter their shop as if it was vandalized. Then later that day, Ifeanyi came back home crying and wailing. I am finished. I am dead. They have robbed me. Oh, all my years of labor gone. Where do I start from? Ifeanyi said, crying. Chinazo and Ifoma all ran out, asking him what the matter was and comforting him. After a few days, Ifoma started to change towards Ifeanyi. She got tired of seeing Ifeanyi at home every day, so she began to speak harshly and rudely. Although they still had food to eat, as Chinazo, Ifeanyi's mother, constantly ensured that there was food in the house. But Ifoma was fed up with Ifeanyi. Whenever Ifeanyi tried to touch her at night, she would shout at him, "You lazy man! How can you still be having an erection in your poverty-stricken state?" Please do not touch me before you transfer your poverty to me. Ifeanyi was shocked, but he began to see that indeed his mother was not lying. Ifeoma would not help out at home. She spoke to his mother and his sisters rudely. Now he realized that Ifeoma was truly pretending. She never really loved him, and that really broke his heart. Barely 2 weeks after Ifeanyi told his wife and mother that his shop was robbed, one day Ifeanyi saw Ifeoma packing her luggages. Ify, where are you going this early morning? Ifeanyi asked, looking worried. What does it look like to you? I am leaving you. I can no longer stay in this poverty-stricken home. Now that you have lost everything you have, what use are you to me? Biko, I'm not cut out for suffering. I'm leaving for good. I thought I was marrying into wealth. Apparently, yours was a mistake, and now you have lost it. Ifeanyi was too dumbfounded to say a word. He watched Ifeoma carry her luggages and leave him. Later that day, Ifeanyi apologized to his mother for not listening to her warning about Ifeoma. He also thanked his friend Arinze for making him test his wife to know whether she truly loved him or whether she was simply after his money. Indeed, Arinze, you are my brother. Thank you for making me test my wife. Imagine that I had truly lost everything. So this is how my wife would have left me. Thank you so much, Arinze. Ifeanyi said. It's okay, that is what brothers do for brothers, Arinze replied. That night, Ifeanyi came back home with lots of gifts for his mother and sisters. He told his mother everything that had happened and how he was only testing his wife to see if she truly loved him, but she had failed woefully. Mama, thank you for your unconditional love. From this day forward, I will take very good care of you till the day you die, and I will take good care of my sisters. I promise you that no one would ever come in between us again. Ifeanyi said. Chinazo was so happy. She blessed her son and Arinze, his friend, for suggesting to her son to test Ifeoma. That night, they all ate and drank and were happy. Hi besties, it's Omalicha here again. Thank you for watching my video to the end. So let me know, do you think it is wrong for Ifeoma to want to marry for money? After all, some men marry for beauty, nice shape, and other things. So do you think there is anything wrong with Ifeoma not wanting to suffer in poverty with a man? Please share your thoughts with me in the comment section. Let me know what you think. And please support my channel by subscribing, liking, and sharing with your loved ones. Now, until I come your way again with more interesting stories, bye!